Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. This is my new workbench. If you want to see what I've been doing on it thus far, I have a whole playlist up over here. Last time we saw this, I just put the legs and the glue up and everything was put together. So this week I have done all of the smoothing, cleaning out the legs, all of the drawbores, cutting them off, flattening the top, and then doing some carving work on the front. Of course, this is wood by Wright, so there's got to be carving. So let's jump in and take a look at this build. I left these tenons a good bit thicker, taller than I wanted them to be in the end. They were sticking up about 3/8 to 1/4 inch. And I can come at them with a Japanese saw because there is no set on these teeth. They won't mar up the top too badly. And it really doesn't matter because I'm going to be flattening it here in a bit. But this will allow me to get fairly close to the top. And then I can come in with a low angle jack and smooth out those tenons until they're nice and flush at the top. This gets me ready for actually flattening the surface. Now I'm going to be doing a whole video on flattening in the future, but just to give you a brief rundown, I'm going to be traversing across the grain, kind of at a 45-degree angle, and I have a bit of a dish in the middle so you can see it cuts on one side and cuts on the other, but not in the middle. Once I get that fairly well cleaned up, then I can come back through and make full-length curls from one end to the other. And I'm just trying to make it flat. And the whole time I'm actually going to be using winding sticks and straight edges and trying to find where the dip and curl are in the bench, getting this whole thing flat. Eventually I'll bring it down to a smoothing plane and give it a nice clean smooth surface all the way across. And again, I'll have a whole nother video on this in the future that really can take up quite a bit of time. So let's jump on to other things. Now I had these drawbores sticking through so I can just flush cut those off. This is a small flush cut saw, kind of like a Japanese saw does the exact same thing. Leaves a little bit of mark, but not a problem because I'm going to smooth it out. Now in order to smooth out the sides, I need to lay it down on its side. And it's a great use for wooden clogs. I can kind of set it on my foot and still be able to get my fingers out of the way and then just do that last little lift up and drop. But next thing I need to do is actually cut off the legs. I left them long so that we can trim them off and make them all flat. When I had it on the ground, I used a perfect distance marker to actually mark how high up I want to cut those legs so that they're all flat to the ground where I want it to actually sit. So I can use that straight edge and square to draw the line all the way around the leg, and then I can come at it with a handsaw and follow that line. Just freehand saw. Once you've done it a few times, it goes fairly easily and leaves you with a really nice edge. Sometimes I'll shoot it with a plane at the end to clean it up, but I do want to chamfer all the edges very, very heavily. As this bench slides around on the floor, if this is a square corner, then you're probably going to end up chipping off large pieces. I've done that on my last bench. Just stupid accident leaving it that way. Chamfer the corners and it'll be a lot better for sliding around on the bench. Now we can actually do the smoothing. I get to play with one of my favorite hand planes. This is a custom hand plane by Veritas that I had set up for smoothing. I get these beautiful, lightweight, fluffy curls. And I could do this all day long, but eventually I'd wear through this wood and I'd have to put a new lamination on there. So at some point you have to stop. But it's a lot of fun once you get a smoothing plane set up to make these perfect curls. On to the carving. Yes, I'm going to be doing quite a bit of carving on this bench. And one of the things I want to do is actually have this Celtic Weave running around my logo. And this Celtic Weave is something I love to do. And I'm just applying it with simple paper. I went onto Googled images and found the pattern I liked and printed it off and wove it together to make what I want it to be. Then I use a glue stick and glue it down. I've tried a bunch of other things, and this is just my favorite way of doing it. There are 100 ways of gluing down a pattern, but glue stick is just my favorite. Now I'm using a V-gouge chisel, and this is a great way to start carving. And in this case, most people can pick this up, and in 5 to 15 minutes of playing around with it, you can do all of the carving I'm about to do today with this one tool and a block of wood as a mallet. It goes really, really quickly, and with light taps, you can actually follow a line really easily because you're not putting pressure into the chisel, and the light taps allow it to be very easily controllable. Here you can see how I'm just following the line and slowly moving around every tap, just advancing it a little bit, and eventually you just weave it right along, and you get these really nice fairly straight, fairly even cuts. And this thick line, I'm basically just removing that black ink line and making a little V-cut underneath it. Now for the actual logo, I'm going to do a few other things. This is a V-chisel I'm putting in to cut this ring. And I'm cutting this fairly deeply. I'll end up doing it in 2 passes, all the way around inside the weave. But for all the letters, I actually want to do kind of a chip carving. And chip carving is basically cutting in from either side and removing a chip. So I'm using this straight chisel to make a cut in from either side, and then I'll use a skew chisel to come in and pick out the bits and kind of clean up the chip carving a little bit. If I were becoming better at this, I could just make it all in one cut on either side and pull the chip out and it's done. But I'm not that good, so sometime in the future. If you want to see more of this, I did a lot of it on my clogs, so that video has a lot more information on chip carving. Then to remove the pattern, I just use a card scraper. A lot of people complain about this, but I actually really like this because the very next thing I'm going to do with this is smooth it out with a card scraper. So just cleaning this off is the next step, and it's one more step closer to final. So and the pattern cleans off beautifully with a card scraper. I really like how that comes out. This process ended up taking me about 2.5, maybe 3 hours. If I were starting on this, if this was one of my first carving projects, it probably would have taken me about 6 hours. But that being said, it was a lot of fun and a great time in the shop to just spend some time dinking around on it. And there is the bench. It is basically built and ready to put a vise on and work on. Nice and stable, and a beautiful bench to boot. So yeah, let's move on to the next step.
So there we have it. I'm in love with this thing. I mean, it is incredibly stiff, incredibly solid. There's no racking or movement on this thing. It is a beast. I'm in love with it. I only have a few more things to do until it's done. I'm going to be putting a vise on it next. I'm going to be putting the finish on it. And then it'll be a functional bench ready to be worked on. I'm going to be holding off on the 2 leg vices. I'm still waiting for the chops on those, but those will be coming sometime in the future too. So yeah, we basically have a final working surface here, and I'm in love, as you can tell by the smile on my face. So I hope you like this build. I do want to say an incredible thank you to the patrons on Patreon. You guys are really the reason why I can keep doing things like this. Honestly, all of my videos now are brought to you by Patreon, so I want to say a thank you for that. If you'd like to find out more about that, you can do so down over here. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, feel free right over there. I do put on some behind the scenes footage on my second channel up here. And that's about it. And until next time, have a wonderful day.